Hey, my CVA scholars, Mr. Bellis here. I'm super excited to talk to you about this new module, Module 2, that we're going to be starting on, or we started on Tuesday of this last week. It is a 3-week module as a whole, and we have a lot of material that we're covering, okay? We start first this week by talking about the age of nation states, putting lots of our attention on Italy for the most part, but it wasn't known as Italy because of the fact that it was all these small little city-states that were run by these powerful families, all right? We're gonna be looking at Florence, we're gonna be looking at Naples, we're gonna be looking at Milan, we'll be looking at Venice, we'll be looking at the Papal States, which include at this time Rome and all of its little territories, all right? Some major names that I want you to make sure that all of you understand, of course, include the fantastic Medici family, okay? You're going to want to read Machiavelli and what he has to say about how a family should rule, written in his famous work, The Prince, and lots of good stuff there, okay? So that's going to be the first part of this module that we're going to be exploring. Then, at the end of this week, we're going to be starting to look and turn our attention to the whole idea of the Renaissance, all right? I don't know about you, but whenever I think of the Renaissance, I think of paintings, I think of sculptures, I think of architecture, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much what the Renaissance is all about. There are 2 types of Renaissances that are going to be taking place in Italy. You have the Renaissance that takes place in the 1400s, which is primarily in beautiful Florence, all right? And one major Renaissance artist I want you to remember from that era is an individual named Donatello, who's going to create a beautiful sculpture known as David, which is a very different David than the statue that's going to be created later on in the 1500s, okay? Then after the 1400s, you're going to go to the 1500s, and the Renaissance that's going to be taking place there is going to be centered more so in Rome. And the popes are going to basically be the major patrons of the arts there, all right? And some of the Renaissance artists I want you to remember, of course, from the 1500s include, no problem, the Ninja Turtles, Leonardo, Raphael, Michelangelo, and I already mentioned Donatello from the 1400s, so we're going to replace him with an individual named Titian, who's more so famous for basically painting a lot of the paintings and portraits of different Habsburg families and different rulers throughout, okay? So that's pretty much what the first part of this module is all about. Then next week, we're going to be turning our attention to the whole issue of the Renaissance called the Northern Renaissance, because as time goes on, this idea of the Renaissance and what it means and this capability of being a Renaissance man and being good at everything and painting and sculpting and drawing and writing and speaking not 1, not 2, but 3 different languages, Greek, Latin, Italian, etc. That basically is going to continue to spread throughout the years, okay? But the only difference is I want you to remember that when it goes to the Northern Renaissance, and we're talking about later in France and what is now known as Belgium and the Netherlands and England and of course parts of Germany, this is also going to coincide with the next module that we'll be talking about in Module 3, which is known as the Reformation. So a lot of the work and paintings and whatnot of the Northern Renaissance is going to be more so about the Reformation and kind of problems with the church, etc. A lot of the famous painters and whatnot that I want you to refer to, Jean Van Eyck, etc. Their style is vastly different from the Italian Renaissance painters, who put more focus, of course, on human emotion, the idea of religion, perspective, depth, okay? Very different from the artwork of the later Middle Ages, all right? You will see that the Northern Renaissance painters are very different in their perspective, and it's focused more so on the whole idea of the Reformation and the problems with the church. Also, though, I want to make sure that you understand that the Northern Renaissance artists, I would definitely put a lot more focus on individuals that are writers. Sir Thomas More, William Shakespeare. Remember, we all have to read Romeo and Juliet growing up, right? And then pretty much, ladies and gentlemen, we will be concluding this whole module number 2 by then turning our attention, after we've had a good couple weeks thrown in the whole art perspective, by turning our attention to the Age of Exploration, which is honestly one of the most fascinating areas, I think, in my personal opinion, of this module, okay? The idea of gold, God, and glory, and looking for the brand new world, all right? The Age of Exploration, as we will see, is going to get started by Prince Henry the Navigator of Portugal. And after a while, it's going to basically be Portugal and Spain that are going to be the two major powerhouses going into the New World. In the New World, they're going to discover lots of great things. And like I said, their motivation was gold, God, and glory. A lot of young men who basically were not married and didn't have children or families or anything, they thought, why not? Let's go see what's going on in this new world and what it has to offer, okay? So a lot of the whole presence and the characteristics of Portugal and Spain, you can still see a lot of them in today's day and age when anybody goes to South America, Central America, parts of North America like that of Mexico. What is the number one religion of the people? Catholicism. Where did they get that from? Spain or Portugal? What language do they speak in South Central and parts of in Mexico? Spanish. Where did they get that from? Spain. What about in Brazil? Why do the Brazilian people not speak Spanish? Because of the fact that they were colonized by the Portuguese, and because of the fact that Pope Alexander didn't want two Catholic countries fighting with one another over territory that didn't really belong to them. He issued, as we will find out, the Treaty of Tordesillas, dividing up the New World in half, so that basically Portugal got everything what is now considered Brazil and all the west coast of Africa, including all of these slaves that they're going to then use to transport and work their various plantations, while basically Spain is going to get everything to the west side of the line, including all of South America, Central America, and Mexico as a whole, okay? So a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen, that we're gonna be covering in this module. I'm super excited about it. Some pieces of advice I wanna give to all of you is as follows. When you are looking at the artists of the Renaissance, make sure that you're able to identify the artist's name, as well as a couple pieces that they painted or sculpted or designed, etc. You have to be able to put and name those pieces if you ever want to get credit on the AP test, okay? So that's just one thing I want to make sure. The same goes for the Northern Renaissance. Who are these artists and what is it that they produced, all right? And for both the Northern and the Italian Renaissance, the whole big overarching question, so what? What did it do? How did it change things? Why is it notable? Okay? If you're able to answer those questions, ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna do great on the AP test if you're ever asked any question that is a short answer question, a long essay question, etc., that's dealing around the Renaissance, all right? My students have historically always done very, very well on the art pieces, which I'm surprised about because I'm artistically I can't do anything when it comes to art, but my students always tend to rock those types of questions on the AP test, okay? But we will be going over more in detail about art and the various works produced by the Renaissance painters, specifically those of the High Renaissance, aka the Ninja Turtles, and we'll be going into more detail about that on this upcoming Friday, all right? So please, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this unit. You're gonna love it. It's a lot of information. It's super fascinating, but I know for a fact that my CVA scholars are up for this challenge. Take care and good luck.